Alright, today we are going to be looking at, we're going to be looking at solving easy one-step equations. Okay? We're going to be looking at solving one-step equations. It's really easy as long as you understand a couple things about solving. Okay, when I say solving, there has to be an equal sign. You'll notice if you're solving something, there must be an equal sign. A lot of people get it confused as if you just see like, oh, 15 plus b plus 23. This you cannot solve, you can only simplify. We can solve it if it has an equal sign. So remember when we did talk about the integers, when we were adding and subtracting integers, we had to make sure, like if you saw something like this, I'm just making up numbers here. If you saw something like this, remember we don't really look at these as adding or subtracting signs, but we also look at this 4 and tell me, is this a positive 4 or a negative 4? The sign in front of it will tell you, oh, this is a negative 4. Also here with this 12, you have to be able to tell me, is this a positive 12 or a negative 12? This 12 is positive because the sign in front of it tells you if it's positive or negative. That's something that you need to be able to see and know when you're solving these types of one-step equations. This one right here, is this 1? Is it a positive 1 or a negative 1? This is a negative 1, and this 14 is a positive 14. You have to know whether it's negative or positive, because solving is about doing the opposite. When we solve each equation, we are doing the opposite of what terms you see, okay? So let's take a look at something really simple. Right here it says 15 plus b equals 23. Now, I know some of you guys like to do the mental math, and you can easily see what b equals, so that 15 plus b equals 23, but it's not about that. It's about actually solving it algebraically, okay? So one thing that you always want to do is draw a line on the equal sign, because this equal sign tells you there's two sides of the equation. And our goal is to get the variable by itself. The variable is the letter. All right? So we want to get the variable by itself. So if I want to get this variable by itself, I do not touch the variable. I want to get rid of this. What's happening to the variable right now is there's a positive 15 getting added to the b. And since this 15 is positive, remember, solving each equation is about doing the opposite. So what's the opposite of a positive 15? Is I'm going to put a negative 15 on both sides, because that will get rid of it. Each time I want to solve something, I want to do a step so something cancels out. So right here, this cancels out. I just bring down my b, and my b is positive. Then over here, I want to go ahead and add that up. When I say add, yes, add it up. 23 plus a negative 15. If you have any type of calculator that can help you with these ones, 23 plus a negative 15, and that will equal 8. So b equals 8. Like I said, obviously, most of you guys already knew that 15 plus 8 equals 23. However, it's not about kind of being able to guess and check what that variable should be. It's about solving it algebraically, okay? So let's look at this one. Remember, first step is to draw your line on the equal sign. And if I'm looking over here, remember our goal is to get the variable by itself. So I want to get the m by itself, which means don't touch the m. We need to get rid of this that's with it. Remember, solving is about doing the opposite. So this is a m plus 4, or m and a positive 4 here. We just need to do the opposite of plus 4, which is minus 4, or negative 4, because remember, negative 4 and minus 4 is the same thing. If I put negative 4 on this side, I'm also putting a negative 4 on this side. Because remember, after I do one step, something should kind of cancel out. The m is the only thing that's left over here, so I bring it down. And then this right here, I'm going to add that up. And when I say add, be careful. This is why we wanted to make sure we go over adding and subtracting integers, because this is a negative 12, and I'm going to be adding a negative 4 to it. And that will give me a negative 16. All right? So this is my answer. M equals negative 16. Our answer is as long as the M is all the way by itself, there's no extra numbers, and I added this up. I know sometimes if your teacher, or if you really just is like, oh, she's wrong, like this, you can also say this is negative 12 minus 4. That's the same thing as negative 12 plus a negative 4. I can show you right here in the calculator. If you put negative 12 minus 4, it does equal negative 16. But one of the easiest things I see from teaching algebra all these years is you just continue to add up whatever terms you have. This is a negative 12 plus a negative 4. All right, let's move on to this one. If you're catching on, this one might be super easy for you because draw our line right here to show our two sides. And notice how I'm lining things up. Like I put the negative 4 right underneath the plus 4. This is really good for people that want to keep their algebra skills sharp. All right, so this one, I want to get the M by itself. And right now, this is like M subtract 9, or M plus negative 9. So what's the opposite of negative 9? Positive 9, or adding 9 on both sides. All right, so remember, after I do this, a negative 9 and a positive 9, that cancels out. That should equal 0. I'm doing the opposite so I can get rid of it. So all I have left is an M right here, and then over here, what am I going to do with these two? I'm going to add that up, and that's a negative 13 plus a 9. That's it, and that gives me negative 4, and that's my answer. Okay. So these ones, I'm hoping this is a little bit more easier to you. This is just another tutorial video on how to do these. Let's look at this last one right here. This will be the last example that I give you for this tutorial. I'm sorry, for this part of the tutorial, because there is another side of these one steps. So now I want to get the V by itself, and this is a V with a minus 15, or V and a negative 15, and I want to do the opposite of minus 15, which is add 15 to both sides. Remember, solving is about doing the opposite. This 15 was negative. I put a positive 15 to cancel it out. Bring down the V. If I put positive 15 here, I must also put positive 15 over here and then add these two together. So negative 27 plus 15, and that gives me a negative 12. That's another one. All right. So notice all of these were all like adding and subtracting. Here, the 15 and the B were adding. The M and the 4 was getting added. The M and the 9 here were getting subtracted. The V and the 15 were getting subtracted. And those are just one steps to solve it. You could also have something like this. Let's just say this was 15B equals 23. This is different. This is totally, these two things are totally different because notice this 15 and this B had a plus sign in between. This 15 and B do not have a sign, which means it's getting multiplied. Whenever you don't see a sign in between, there's like an invisible multiplication dot in between. That's what I tell my students. If you don't see a sign in between a number and a letter, that means they're getting multiplied. Same thing here. This could have been 4M equals negative 12, which means the 4 and the M, they're getting multiplied together, okay? This 4 and this M were getting added together, so there's a big difference. Let me show you how to solve these. These are also going to get solved by another one step, and it's a pretty easy one step because remember we talked about solving is about doing the opposite. So if 15 and B are getting multiplied, what's the opposite of multiply? The opposite of multiply is to divide. So remember, don't really touch the B, but what I want to do is I want to divide it by 15 on both sides. And yes, I should have drawn my line right here because 15 divided by 15 will cancel out. It's just an invisible 1. So what's left is B, and then over here, yes, I do need to figure out what is 23 divided by 15. Even I don't know that. It's going to give me a decimal probably. 23 divided by 15 is 1. Yeah, I'm just going to keep it as 1.53, and that's my answer. Okay, so these ones are different because this is getting multiplied over here. And remember, solving is about doing the opposite, which means if this says 4 times m, what's the opposite of multiplying? It's dividing by the number, dividing by that 4 on both sides. 4 divided by 4 cancels out into an invisible 1, but what's left? The m is left. Then negative 12 divided by 4. Hopefully you know that if you know your multiplication skills. Negative 12 divided by 4 is a negative 3. I'm going to do 2 more examples, which are the comparing the two like this. So over here, this will kind of be like negative 9m equals negative 13. And this will be like negative 15v equals negative 27. So remember, I'm going to state it again. If you see that there's a number and a letter that don't have any sign in between, that means it's an invisible multiplication sign. And remember, solving is about doing the opposite. So negative 9 times m, what's the opposite? Is dividing by the negative 9. Yes, divide exactly by what it is. So if I divide by negative 9 here, I need to divide by negative 9 here. That cancels out. I'm left with m equals, and let me go ahead and divide that using my calculator, negative 13 divided by negative 9. And that gives me 1.44, yes, a positive 1.44. And the last one here, this is negative 15 with the invisible times v. What's the opposite of times? Is divide. And when I divide by the exact same number here. Dividing by negative 15. That will cancel out. Remember, solving is about I want something to cancel out on one side so then I can do the math over here. Negative 27 divided by negative 15. That will give me positive 1.8, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a couple practice problems right now and see if you can do them. So you might want to pause the video because I'm going to immediately give the answers, okay? So let's see here. We have, what I want you to go ahead and try on your own is I want you to try 19, 21, 23, and 25. So go ahead and pause the video and try these on your own because right now I'm about to reveal the answer. So you're going to have to pause the video yourself and go ahead and try these, write them down, show all the steps. With algebra, a lot of issues people have is because they're not showing the steps. So go ahead and pause the video because I'm about to go over these right now. All right. So remember, take a look at this one. Draw your line on the equal sign. Take a look at it. What's going on right now? Do you see any addition or subtraction going on? You should probably be saying no. This right here is negative 7 getting multiplied times the n. I know it might look weird to you because in the other problems, this was over here. It doesn't matter. We still want to look over here. Don't touch this 21. This 21 is all by itself. There's nothing over here with it. What I want to do is I want to get the n by itself. So the opposite of negative 7 times n, hold on a minute. Is to divide both sides by the negative 7. Dividing both sides by negative 7. Remember, negative 7 divided by negative 7 will cancel itself out. All that's left is the n. What I need to bring down here is 21 divided by negative 7, which is negative 3. So negative 3 is my answer. For this one here, draw your line on the equal sign and figure out what's happening to my variable. Remember, the goal is to get the variable by itself. If this side doesn't have a variable, ignore this side for now because it doesn't have a variable. Look over here that has the k. This side has the k. So how do I get the k by itself? By doing the opposite. Right now, 14 times k, okay, the opposite is to divide by 14 on both sides. The 14s will cancel out. Now you just need to figure out what is negative 126 divided by 14. Negative 126 divided by 14 is negative 9. Perfect. All right, now let's look at this one. Draw your line on the equal sign. Remember, figure out what's happening to the variable. What's happening to the variable? Okay, now this is an addition and subtraction problem, which means I can go ahead and solve it by using addition or subtraction. So right here, this says negative 16. So how do I get rid of this negative 16 now that it's being added here? Is I'm going to add 16 to both sides. Solving is about doing the opposite. This was a negative 16, so I need to add 16 to the other side of the equal sign. So that's why we draw this line. So this cancels out. All that's left is x equals, and now I need to add this. Negative 15 plus 16. And you can use really any calculator for this if you're having problems. That gives me a 1. Perfect. And this last one, draw your line on the equal sign. Okay, find your variable. The variable's now on this side. Figure out what's going on here. This is a addition or subtraction problem. Remember, we talked about, look at this 15. Is this really a positive 15 or a negative 15? The sign in front of it tells me it's a negative 15, so I need to do the opposite, which is add 15 over here, because that will cancel it out. I'm left with x. Yes, keep x on this side. Do not move it back over here, because that's what you're used to. Keep x where it's at. And then add that up. Negative 17 plus 15 equals negative 2. There you go. All right, so that's the practice for this one. Hopefully you did well on these. There will be some more online practice. And hopefully you have joined the Zoom already. If not, you can always message me and ask questions. Thank you.